The past is gone. That's something almost everyone accepts without question. It happened. It's finished. And now it only survives as a memory, something stored in your mind, like an old file you can open but never relive. In this view, reality is split into three parts: what has already disappeared, what exists right now, and what hasn't happened yet. The past is treated like something that used to exist but has now been erased from reality itself. But that assumption is exactly where things start to break. Because when you look at the world through the lens of physics, not intuition, the picture changes completely. The past is not gone in the way we imagine. It is not deleted. It is not heritage of existence. In a very real physical sense, the past is still part of reality, still existing, still present in the structure of the universe right now. And the moment you begin to understand why physics leads to this conclusion, your entire idea of time stops being obvious. What you thought was a simple flow from past to future turns into something far stranger, where nothing truly disappears, and everything that ever happened is still, in some sense, here. We naturally imagine time in a very simple way. The past is something behind us. The present is what we are experiencing right now, and the future is something waiting ahead, not yet real. In this picture, life feels like a movement along a straight line, where we are always standing on a single point, called now, constantly shifting forward from one moment to the next. It feels intuitive, almost obvious, but physics tells a very different story. And it starts by breaking one of our deepest assumptions, that there is a universal present moment, shared by everything in the universe. There isn't. In modern physics, there is no single, global, now, that applies to all observers everywhere. Two people moving relative to each other can disagree about what events are happening at the same time. That means the idea of a universal present is not built into reality, it depends on the observer. Even more surprisingly, there is no physical law that marks the present as special. The equations that describe the universe do not highlight a moving boundary between past and future. They don't describe a flowing now advancing through time. That entire feeling of a moving present is something our brain constructs, not something the universe enforces. And once that idea falls apart, another question becomes unavoidable. If there is no universal present, and if nothing in physics says the past disappears, then where exactly is the past? What does it mean for something to be gone, if the laws of physics never actually remove it? To understand where the past is, we need to make a shift in how we think about reality itself. We already accept something very simple without question. Different places exist at the same time. If you are in London, that does not mean New York stops existing. Both locations are real. Both are part of the same world. You are simply located in one region of space, while other regions continue to exist independently of your position. Now, physics suggests something deeply unsettling. Time behaves in a similar way. Yesterday is not a place that has been erased. Tomorrow is not a place that is missing. They are not gone, or not real yet, in the fundamental sense we imagine. Instead, they can be thought of as different positions in a larger structure, just like different locations in space. You are not moving through time in the way a point moves along a line. Instead, you are located at a particular region within a much larger framework that contains all moments. This framework is what physicists refer to when they talk about spacetime, a unified structure where space and time are not separate things, but part of one connected geometry. And if you take this idea seriously, it leads to a very strange but powerful conclusion. Instead of only the present being real, with the past gone and the future not yet here, all moments past, present, and future exist together within the same four-dimensional structure. This is the idea often called the block universe, a reality where nothing truly disappears, nothing is waiting to come into existence, and every moment is simply part of the complete structure of space-time. If all moments exist in the same space-time structure, then a natural question appears. Why do we experience time as something that flows at all? Why does the past feel different from the future? Why does everything seem to move in one direction? The answer is not that time itself is flowing. The answer lies in something deeper in physics: entropy. Entropy is a measure of disorder, or more precisely, the number of possible microscopic arrangements a system can have. And in nature, there is a strong tendency for systems to evolve from order toward disorder. A glass shatters. but it never spontaneously reassembles. Smoke spreads out into a room, but never gathers itself back into a perfect cloud. Ice melts into water, but water does not naturally reform into perfectly structured ice without external influence. This one-way tendency creates what we call the arrow of time. It is the reason the past feels fixed and the future feels open. But here is the surprising part. When you zoom in to the level of fundamental physics, the level of individual particles, the laws themselves do not distinguish between forward and backward time. At the microscopic scale, particle interactions work almost exactly the same, whether time runs forward or in reverse. The equations remain valid in both directions. Nothing in the basic laws says that one direction is future and the other is past. So the direction we experience the feeling that time flows from past to future is not written into the fundamental rules of reality. It emerges from statistics, from probability, and from the collective behavior of enormous numbers of particles. In other words, the flow of time is not fundamental to the universe. It is something that arises from within it. If the past is not erased, then the question becomes much more concrete. What exactly is it, and where does it exist? In physics, the answer is not that the past is stored somewhere separate from reality. It is not locked away in a different realm that no longer exists. Instead, the past is still part of the same space-time structure as everything else. It has not been deleted. It has not been removed. It has simply become another region of the universe's history, fully embedded in the same physical fabric as the present moment. In a very real sense, the past is encoded in the present. Everywhere you look, you are interacting with traces of what already happened. Light from distant stars is a direct example of this. When you observe the night sky, you are not seeing those stars as they are now, but as they were when that light first left them, sometimes thousands or even millions of years ago. In some cases, those stars may have already changed or ceased to exist entirely, yet their light continues to travel through space, carrying information from the past into your present moment. Even here on Earth, the same principle holds. The atoms that make up your body were not created locally in their current form. They were forged inside ancient stars through nuclear processes that occurred billions of years ago, then scattered across the universe through supernova explosions, before eventually becoming part of everything you see today, including you. So the past is not just something you recall mentally. The universe is not following a single timeline. It is not locked into one fixed sequence of events. Instead, it behaves like a sum of all possible histories, where every possibility plays a role in shaping the outcome. Even paths that resemble backward movement in time are not excluded from this process. They are part of the full mathematical structure that predicts real experimental results. And this is not just an idea or interpretation. It is one of the most accurately tested frameworks in all of physics. Experiments consistently match the predictions made using this method. This leads to a deeper realization. What we call the past is not something completely separate, sealed off and gone. It is part of the same underlying structure that includes the present and the future. In quantum physics, reality is not built from a single line of time. It is built from a complete network of possibilities across space-time, all contributing together to what we observe as the present moment. Richard Feynman uncovered one of the most surprising ideas in modern physics when studying how particles behave at the quantum level. He showed that, mathematically, an antiparticle can be interpreted in a very unusual way. It can be described as the same kind of particle moving backward in time. This is not just a metaphor or visual trick. It comes directly from the equations used in quantum physics. For example, a positron, which is the antiparticle of an electron, can be mathematically treated as an electron traveling backward through time in certain calculations. In real physics, this interpretation is not only valid, but extremely useful. Physicists use it in Feynman diagrams to accurately predict how particles interact, and these predictions match experimental results with high precision. What makes this idea so powerful is what it suggests about time itself. At the quantum level, the strict separation we experience between past and future begins to break down. The equations do not strongly distinguish between forward and backward time directions. Instead, they allow both interpretations within the same framework. This does not mean we can freely travel into the past, but it does mean that at the most fundamental level, The universe does not treat time as a simple, one-way flow. The boundary between past and future is not as absolute as it appears in everyday life. And in that sense, even time itself becomes part of a deeper, more flexible structure where direction is not as fixed as we intuitively believe. When you look up at the night sky, you are not seeing the universe as it is right now. You are seeing the universe as it was. This happens because light takes time to travel. The sun, for example, is about 8 light minutes away from Earth. That means the sunlight reaching your eyes right now left the sun 8 minutes ago. You are always seeing a slightly delayed version of the Sunday. When you look at stars, the effect becomes even more extreme. Some of the stars you see are hundreds, thousands, or even millions of light years away. The light reaching you today may have left those stars long before human civilization existed. In some cases, those stars may no longer exist at all. They might have exploded or collapsed into black holes long ago, but their light is still traveling through space, still crossing the universe, still arriving at your eyes right now. This leads to a powerful realization. The past is not completely gone. It is still moving through the universe in the form of light and information. It is still reaching the present moment, even across enormous distances and timescales. So when you look at the sky, you are not just observing distant objects. You are directly receiving messages from the past. The universe is not showing you only now. It is constantly delivering history into the present. To understand the deepest implication of modern physics, we have to abandon a familiar idea that your life is something moving through time. In everyday thinking, we imagine a person traveling from past to future, moment by moment, like a point moving along a line. But physics suggests something very different. Your life is not a moving object through time. It is a structure inside space-time, a complete four-dimensional form that already contains your entire existence from beginning to end. In this view, your birth is not behind you in a vanished past. Your childhood is not gone. Your present is not special. And your future is not waiting to be created. Instead, all of these moments exist together as part of one continuous space-time structure. Childhood, adulthood, and old age are all different regions of the same object. Just like different parts of a mountain exist simultaneously, different moments of your life exist within space-time at once. From this perspective, you are not something moving through this structure. You are the structure itself. What you experience as flowing time is not motion through reality, but your consciousness moving through different slices of an already complete space-time object. You experience it step by step, moment by moment, because your awareness is localized to one section at a time. But the full structure, your entire life, exists as a single whole within space-time. If the past exists as part of space-time, then physics naturally extends the same idea forward. The future is not fundamentally different in structure from the past. In the block universe picture, all moments past, present, and future are part of the same four-dimensional reality. So yes, in this framework, the future also exists. Not as something already happening in a conscious sense, but as part of the complete space-time structure that contains all events. This raises an immediate concern. Does that mean everything is already fixed and free will is an illusion? Physics does not support that simple conclusion, because even if the future exists in the structure of space-time, your experience of it is not fixed from your point of view. You do not have access to the future. You cannot see it, predict it with certainty, or experience it in advance. More importantly, your choices are not separate from that structure. They are part of it. Every decision you make is one of the events that forms the shape of space-time itself. So it is not accurate to say you are passively following a pre-written script. A better description is that your decisions and the future are part of the same connected framework. From inside the system, you experience choice, uncertainty, and possibility. From the larger space-time view, those choices are already embedded as part of the full structure. Both perspectives are valid, but they describe reality at different levels. So the future existing does not cancel free will. It reframes it. You are not reading a script that already exists outside of you. You are participating in the creation of the structure as it is being defined across space-time. We remember the past, but we do not remember the future. This simple fact is one of the strongest reasons we feel that time is flowing in a single direction. It creates the impression that the past is fixed, the present is moving, and the future is open. But physics shows that this experience is not built into time itself. It comes from something more physical: memory. Memory is not abstract. It is not separate from the laws of nature. It is a physical process inside the brain. Every memory is a pattern of information stored in neurons, maintained by biochemical. There is no fundamental equation in physics that treats time like a river moving from past to future. Instead, physics describes time as something that exists as part of reality itself. In this view, the past is not erased when it happens. It is not destroyed or removed from existence. It does not disappear behind you as you move forward. The past remains part of space-time, just like any other region of reality. It still exists within the structure of the universe. What we call now is not a moving boundary separating what is real from what is not. It is simply the part of space-time you are currently experiencing. And you are not a thing traveling through time like a point moving along a path. You are a structure extended across time, a four-dimensional existence that stretches from birth to death. Your life is not something happening inside time as it passes. It is something that exists within time as a complete structure, and what you experience as the flow of time is simply your awareness moving through different slices of that structure, moment by moment. From the perspective of physics, nothing is being carried forward. Nothing is being left behind. Everything that happens is part of a single, complete space-time reality. Nothing is ever truly gone in the way we usually think. Every moment that has ever happened still exists as part of space-time. Your childhood is still there. Your memories are still part of the structure of reality. Every person you have met is still part of that same four-dimensional framework. And every version of you that existed at different points in life is also part of it. All of it exists, not as imagination, and not as something stored only in the mind, but as physical reality described by the laws of physics. In TS view, the universe does not erase what happens. It does not discard the past after it occurs. Instead, it preserves every event as part of its complete structure. Nothing is removed from existence. Everything remains encoded within space-time itself. And from that perspective, the universe does not forget anything. It holds everything that has ever happened within its structure permanently, as part of reality itself. Even if all moments exist within space-time, our experience is always limited to just one of them at a time. This is what creates the strong feeling that time is moving forward, as if reality is being revealed step by step. But from the perspective of physics, this experience is not evidence of time flowing. It is a result of how observation and information processing work inside a physical system like the brain. Nothing in the laws of physics suggests that consciousness should have access to all moments at once. There is no mechanism that allows a system to jump across different points in space-time and experience them simultaneously. Instead, every physical observer is always embedded in a single, local state of the universe. Your brain exists in one configuration at one point in space-time, and it continuously evolves based on interactions with the environment. Light enters your eyes, signals travel through neurons, and your brain updates its internal state based on incoming information. This process gives rise to what we experience as now, but that now is not a moving point traveling through time. It is simply the current state of information being processed by your brain at that moment. Each moment of experience is a snapshot of a physical system updating according to the laws of physics. There is no sudden leap from one moment to the next, no transition between separate presents, only a continuous evolution of states within a fixed space-time structure. From this perspective, what we call the flow of time is not something happening to reality itself. It is the way a localized system experiences sequential updates of information inside an already existing four-dimensional universe. Even if all moments exist within space-time, our experience is always limited to just one of them at a time. This is what creates the powerful feeling that time is flowing forward, as if reality is being revealed to us, step by step like a story unfolding. But from the perspective of physics, this feeling is not evidence that time itself is flowing. Instead, it comes from how observation, memory, and information processing work inside a physical system like the brain. Nothing in the known laws of physics suggests that consciousness has access to all moments of space-time simultaneously. There is no mechanism in nature that allows a system to jump freely between different points in space-time and experience them all at once. Every observer is always embedded inside a single, localized physical state of the universe. Your brain exists as a specific configuration of matter and energy at one point in space-time, and it evolves continuously according to physical laws. As time progresses from your perspective, your brain is constantly interacting with the environment. Light enters your eyes, sound waves reach your ears, and signals travel through networks of neurons. At each step, your brain updates its internal state based on the information it receives from the surrounding world. This continuous updating process is what creates the experience we call now. But this now is not a moving point traveling through time. It is simply the current state of a physical system processing information at a specific location in space-time. Each moment of consciousness is like a snapshot of this ongoing physical computation. There is no sudden jump from one moment to the next, no discontinuous shift between separate presents, only a smooth, continuous evolution of states governed by the laws of physics. From this viewpoint, what we call the flow of time is not a property of the universe itself. It is the way a localized observer experiences a sequence of information updates inside an already existing four-dimensional space-time structure. If every event in the universe leaves behind traces, then reality begins to look less like something fleeting and more like something recorded. Every interaction between particles, every emission of light, every collision, and every change in energy leaves an imprint on the surrounding environment. Over time, these imprints spread out through space. They mix with other signals, get absorbed, transformed, and carried forward in new forms. Because of this, nothing is ever truly erased, in a complete sense. Information is not destroyed outright. It becomes distributed, diluted, and harder to reconstruct, but it still remains encoded within the structure of the universe. In this way, the past is not deleted. It is stretched and scattered across space-time, embedded in countless physical processes. We can see this clearly in many forms. Light waves carry information from distant stars and galaxies. Gravitational waves carry signatures of massive cosmic collisions. Atomic structures preserve the history of stellar evolution. Even the cosmic microwave background radiation carries information from the earliest moments of the universe itself. Every layer of reality contains evidence of earlier states of the cosmos. Nothing is isolated from its history. Everything is a continuation of it. From this perspective, the universe behaves like a continuous recording system that never stops operating. But unlike human recordings, it does not store information in a single place. It stores it everywhere, distributed across space and time itself. So reality is not just something that exists moment by moment. It is something that is constantly recording its own history into its structure. If the past still exists physically within the structure of the universe, then a natural question arises. Why does it feel so distant and unreachable? The answer is not that the past has been separated from reality or removed from existence. The answer lies in complexity. As time progresses, information about any event does not stay neatly organized in one place. Instead, it spreads out through countless interactions in the environment. Every small event triggers further interactions, and those interactions trigger even more, creating an enormous chain of physical changes. Over time, this leads to what we call chaotic behavior. In chaotic systems, tiny differences in initial conditions grow rapidly, making the original information extremely difficult to reconstruct. What was once a clear, localized event becomes scattered across many layers of physical processes. The information is still there, but it is no longer concentrated or easily readable. This is why the past becomes practically inaccessible, even though it is not physically erased. The difficulty is not that the past has disappeared. The difficulty is that the information about it has become massively distributed and scrambled throughout the universe. So the feeling that the past is distant or lost is not evidence that it no longer exists. It is a consequence of how information evolves and disperses over time within physical systems. Understanding time in this way does not change how daily life functions in a practical sense. You still wake up, make decisions, and move through your experiences one moment at a time. You still plan, react, and adapt based on what happens around you. From the inside, life continues exactly as it always has. But what does change is how this entire process is interpreted. Instead of viewing life as something that constantly disappears into the past, you begin to see it as something that is continuously added to a larger, permanent structure. Every moment you experience does not vanish after it happens. It becomes part of the complete history of the universe, embedded within space-time itself. In this view, nothing that happens is truly temporary in an absolute sense. Events do not get erased from reality. They simply become part of a different region of it. What is temporary is not the existence of the event itself, but your experience of it. You move through different states of awareness, while the full structure of what you call your life remains part of a complete, unchanging space-time reality. This shifts the perspective from loss to continuity, from disappearance to persistence, from moments fading away to moments becoming part of the permanent fabric of the universe.